Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're taking a closer look at something pretty crucial if you're planning an island getaway. Maui car rental prices for September 2025.
That's right.
We've really dug into the data here, trying to cut through all the noise.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to share what's actually happening on the ground, hopefully helping you navigate the market, maybe even save some money on that Hawaiian trip.
Absolutely. And this deep dive, it's more than just the price tags, isn't it? It's a real chance to understand the uh, unique economic forces at play in a place like Maui.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll look at current prices, sure, but also compare them historically, look at forecasts. It's all based on the source material we've been analyzing. You get to see how market conditions, maybe even unexpected events, shape the prices you find.
Okay, so let's jump right in then. The numbers for September, and honestly, there's some genuinely good news if you're thinking of going soon.
It definitely looks that way.
Our sources are confirming that prices for Maui in September 2025, they're basically at low season levels. So, for the week of September 8th, get this. The cheapest car from Akului Airport, that's OGG, is just $220 for the whole week. All taxes and fees included.
Wow, $220 all in is really competitive for Maui.
Isn't it? And if you're dreaming of a Jeep, we're seeing about $327 a week, SUVs around $238.
Okay.
And if you need more room, minivans, remember, they had those wild price swings earlier.
Oh, yeah, the recall situation.
Right. Well, now they're around $254 a week, but that's off airport.
Okay, interesting. And these prices, they really do reflect that shoulder season dynamic.
Explain that a bit.
Well, it's that sweet spot, after the main summer rush, before the fall travel season really kicks in, fewer people.
And better deals, apparently.
Exactly. And our source tracks this stuff meticulously. Weekly prices from OGG, 7 different car types, companies like 6T, Budget, Dollar, Payless, Thrifty. It gives a really solid picture.
And it's not static, right? Things change week to week. What movement did we see for that September 8th week?
Yeah, good point. So economy cars from 6T were $220. That was actually up 5% from the week before.
Okay, a small bump.
Midsize, also 6T, $240, up 6%. Jeeps from Budget, steady at $327. Zero change.
Right.
Convertibles, though, they jumped. $519 from Dollar. That's up 25%.
Whoa.
But SUVs went the other way, down 3% to $238 from 6T. 7-seat SUVs, no change, $359 from Thrifty.
Okay, so mostly small tweaks. Except
the minivans. This is where it gets notable. A huge drop, 35% down, landing at $381 from Payless for that week.
minus 35%. That's significant.
It really is. So while, yes, a couple of categories ticked up slightly, like you saw with economy and midsize, the overall trend, especially with that minivan drop, is definitely towards these lower shoulder season prices. It suggests, maybe availability improved quite a bit for minivans.
So, okay, the prices look good on the surface, low season levels, but what's really behind it? Is it just the calendar or is something else going on?
That's the critical question. And to figure that out, the source material does something clever. It compares current prices to the median price over the last 52 weeks.
Ah, okay, so comparing now to the average over the whole past year, what does that tell us? How much of a deal are we really getting?
Well, here's the headline finding.
Yeah.
Every single vehicle category is currently renting at a discount compared to its 52-week median price.
Every category, wow.
Yeah, and some discounts look massive, like 40 to 44% massive.
44%. Which ones?
Okay, let's break it down. Economy, $220 now versus a $263 median. That's about 16% off.
Okay, decent.
Midsize, $240 versus $323 median, about 26% off. Better. SUVs. $238 versus $397 median. That's 40% off.
40.
And minivans, $381 now versus a $670 disc median. That's the 44% discount.
Okay, those sound incredible, but you said look massive.
Right. There's a nuance here. But first, let's highlight the most striking real discount, which is actually the Jeep.
Oh, yeah, the Jeep.
Yeah, $327 now versus a $539 median. That's 39% off. And that one feels, well, genuinely significant. A really good deal if you want that open-air Maui experience.
So 39% off for a Jeep, that's definitely worth noting. But what's the catch with the huge SUV and minivan discounts, the 44% ones?
Okay, so here's the aha moment from the analysis.
Yeah.
Those really big discounts for SUVs and minivans, they're kind of exaggerated.
How so?
Because their median price over the last 52 weeks was artificially inflated. Remember that midsummer minivan shortage and the recall?
Oh, right. Prices shot up then.
Exactly. For several weeks, prices for minivans and other larger vehicles were way higher than normal. That period skewed the 52-week median upwards.
Ah, I see. So the average was pushed higher by that temporary spike.
Precisely. So now prices are just returning to what's basically normal for this time of year, the shoulder season.
Yeah.
But when you compare these normal prices to that artificially high median,
It looks like a massive discount, even though it's just things getting back to normal.
you got it. So for SUVs and minivans, the pricing is mostly seasonally normal, not necessarily a once-in-a-lifetime bargain compared to their usual rates outside of that recall period.
That is such a crucial distinction. Context matters. So it looks like a huge sale, but it's more like the fever broke. But the Jeep discount, that 39%, that one's real.
That one seems like a genuine standout deal right now, yeah.
Okay, understanding that context is key. Now, thinking about context, how do these current prices stack up against this exact same time last year, September 2024?
Yeah, another great way to look at it. The year-over-year comparison adds another important layer. And the source data shows pretty significant drops compared to September 2024 for most types of vehicles.
Like what?
Well, take Jeeps again. $327 now versus $439 last year. That's a 26% decrease year over year.
26% cheaper than last year. Okay.
Convertibles saw an even bigger drop, $519 now, but they were $820 last year at this time. That's a 37% reduction.
Wow, nearly 40% down for convertibles.
SUVs also down significantly, $238 now compared to $302 last year, so down 21%. And even the basic economy and midsize cars are cheaper than last year, down 8% and 15% respectively.
So across the board, mostly cheaper than a year ago. Why?
Well, the analysis points pretty clearly to the continued weakness in travel to Maui. It's a direct consequence, still lingering, from the Lahaina wildfire disaster 2 years ago.
Right. The recovery is still ongoing.
It is, and that suppressed demand. It really impacts the local economy, and one very visible effect for visitors is these lower car rental prices compared to the previous year. It really puts these numbers into perspective, doesn't it?
It really does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sobering. These aren't just numbers on a spreadsheet. They reflect something much bigger happening on the island.
Exactly.
But wait, you said most categories were down year over year. Are there exceptions?
Yes, good catch. The exceptions are, interestingly, the 7-seat SUVs and the minivans. They're bucking that trend.
How so?
Minivans are actually up slightly 5% more expensive than last year, and 7-seat SUVs are basically flat, only down about 2%.
So almost everything else is down 10, 20, 30%, but the big people movers are holding steady or even slightly up compared to last year. Why?
It connects right back to what we were just discussing, that minivan recall effect from earlier this summer.
Ah, the ripple effect continues.
Seems so. The disruption it caused appears to have kept prices for those specific larger vehicle categories relatively firmer, preventing them from seeing the same year-over-year decline that the other segments experienced.
Fascinating how one event can have such specific lingering impacts on different parts of the market. Okay, so we've looked back 52 weeks. We've looked back 1 year. What about looking forward? What are the forecasts saying for the rest of September and into early October?
Right, the crystal ball question.
Yeah.
Looking at the advanced reservation systems, the forecast is pretty clear, especially for those smaller cars economy, compact.
Yeah.
Prices there seem to have really settled into these low season levels. They're basically at the bottom end of the price range for the entire year right now.
Okay, so the cheap deals might stick around for a bit.
It looks like it. The projections show these advanced booking prices staying relatively flat for a few more weeks. But then
Comes the rise.
Then we expect to see an upward trend starting either at the very end of September or maybe more likely in early October.
Interesting. How does that compare to the last year's timing?
Well, last year, prices actually started to creep up in mid-September. This year, it seems that fall price increase might be delayed a bit, perhaps pushed into early October.
And does that line up with, like, historical patterns before all the recent disruptions?
It actually does. The source material includes 5-year average data from 2013 to 2018.
Right.
And historically, the pattern was prices drop from summer highs in August, stay low through most of September, and then start climbing again in early October. So this year's slightly delayed increase actually fits that older historical pattern quite well. It suggests maybe a return to a more typical seasonal rhythm, even with the current market conditions.
That is super useful for planning. So if you're booking for late September, you might just catch the low point before things tick up.
Seems that way.
Now, this brings up a question I hear constantly, the last-minute booking gamble. Is it actually cheaper to wait and book your car right before you go? Feels risky.
It usually does feel counterintuitive, right?
Yeah.
But this is another area where the recent data shows a really surprising trend.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the tracking since December 2024. For several weeks now, Prices you could get just one day or 1 week in advance have often been lower than the prices people booked, say, 5 weeks out.
Seriously, lower at the last minute. Give me an example.
Okay, for a rental starting September 8th, if you booked an airport car 5 weeks ago, it would have cost you $265 for the week.
Right.
If you booked it today, for the same start date, it's $220.
Wow, cheaper now.
But wait, it gets better. The absolute lowest price for that week, $184, was available just 1 week ago.
1 week out was the cheapest. That turns conventional wisdom on its head. What about off-airport?
Off-airport last-minute prices also showed some minor dips downwards, though maybe not as dramatic.
So why is this happening? Why have last-minute deals been better recently?
Well, now that the peak summer holidays and Labor Day are over, those advanced reservation prices have been trending down anyway, hitting their lowest points of the year.
Okay.
So the gap between booking way ahead and booking closer in has naturally narrowed quite a bit. It's a noticeable shift.
But is this last-minute advantage going to last?
The important caveat. While, yes, some last-minute deals still exist right now, the savings you get are definitely shrinking.
Okay.
And critically, everyone expects this trend to reverse. Once we get into the busier fall travel season, later in October, you'll likely see last-minute prices be higher again, as usual.
So the window for maybe snagging a better deal by waiting, it's closing.
It seems to be closing, yes. So that strategy might not work for much longer.
Good to know. A valuable tip for people booking right now, but be careful relying on it for trips later in the fall. Okay, another big decision point. Airport versus off-airport rental. What's typically cheaper?
Yeah, historically, the general expectation was that off-airport would be cheaper.
Why was that?
A couple of main reasons. Airport rentals usually have higher mandatory taxes and fees baked in. Plus, there's often a bit of a convenience premium for grabbing your car right there at the terminal.
Makes sense. Pay more for convenience and fees, but is that still true now?
Well, this is another area where the source material highlights a, quote, disruption of the historical pattern in recent months.
Another disruption. What's causing this one?
It's likely tied back to the overall business environment post-wildfires. The thinking is that some off-airport locations may have had to cut back on their inventory, maybe reduced operating hours or staff.
So they might have fewer cars available off-airport now.
Potentially, yes. Responding to the difficult conditions after August 2023.
So the old rule off-airport is cheaper might be out the window for Maui right now. What's the reality for this week, September 8th?
The reality is the usual pattern is pretty much turned on its head, as the source puts it.
How so?
For this week, off-airport prices are only lower than airport prices in 3 categories: the basic economy compact, mid-size cars, and minivans.
Only those 3. What about the popular ones?
For SUVs and for Jeeps, the airport price is actually lower right now.
The airport is cheaper for SUVs and Jeeps.
And here's a real twist. For convertibles and the 7-seat SUVs, there's apparently no off-airport availability listed at all for this week. 0.
Wow. Okay, so you absolutely have to check both airport and off-airport right now because the usual assumptions just don't apply.
Exactly. It's a very unusual situation, and it's really uncertain when or even if that historical pattern of off-airport being cheaper will return. Definitely compare both.
Good advice. Okay, let's zoom out one last time. How does Maui compare to the other Hawaiian Islanders for rental car prices overall? Is it still a bargain, relatively speaking?
Looking at the latest comparison data from September 1st, 2025, across the major islands, it's pretty interesting.
Lay on us.
Okay, Honolulu, H&L, came in at $181 for the cheapest car. That was down 4% week over week.
Okay, lowest price.
Maui, OGG, was right behind at $187, actually up 4%. So Honolulu just barely snagged the cheapest spot this week.
Close second for Maui, then. What about the others?
Big jumps elsewhere. Kauai, LAH, was way higher at $340, up 29%.
Wow.
Kona, KOA, on the Big Island, $223, up 17%. And Hilo, ITO, also Big Island, $259, up 16%.
So Maui and Honolulu are significantly cheaper than Kauai and the Big Island right now.
Definitely. And while Honolulu was cheapest this specific week, Maui has been remarkably consistent in its affordability.
How consistent?
It's held the title of cheapest island for car rentals for 18 out of the last 23 weeks.
18 out of 23. That's impressive.
In the other 5 weeks, it came in second, usually just barely behind Honolulu.
So consistently one of the most affordable islands. And does it tie back to what you mentioned earlier?
It does. This consistent affordability for Maui rentals really reflects that Very slow recovery of tourism following the Lahaina wildfire disaster just over 2 years ago. It's a direct economic indicator.
And it really puts everything into perspective. The deals are there, but they're intertwined with the island's ongoing recovery. It's important context for travelers. Now, before we wrap up, I think it's worth mentioning for you, our listener, how we actually know all this detail. The data seems really specific.
It's crucial, isn't it? The reliability comes from rigorous tracking. The source explains they've been checking prices weekly since July 2024 for these 7 main vehicle types.
Weekly for over a year.
Yes, and for some categories, like economy cars, the data goes back even further, to July 2023. Plus, they reference historical tracking studies going back to 2013.
Well, long-term view, too.
And they cover 10 different rental companies just at Kahului Airport, Alamo, Avis, Budget, Dollar, Enterprise, Hertz, National, Payless, 6T, Thrifty, all big players.
Okay, so it's comprehensive and consistent.
Exactly. This dedication to gathering broad, consistent data is what allows for these kinds of insights. It's based on observed prices, not just guessing.
That's why we can feel confident sharing these trends. And for you listening, if you're ready to maybe act on this info and check rates for your own trip, the source also suggests using specific booking sites they recommend. They apparently give you access to cars from 8 companies across different Maui locations, not just OGG Airport, but also in Kahului Town and the resort areas like Kanapali or Wailea.
Right. Expands your options.
And a really nice feature, they mention there's never a cancellation penalty if your plans happen to change, which is great peace of mind.
That's a huge plus these days.
Okay, what a journey through the Maui car rental landscape for September 2025. Let's try to quickly recap the key takeaways.
Sounds good.
So, first off, September is definitely a shoulder season. Prices are generally good, hitting low season levels.
Right, but some of those really big discounts, especially for SUVs and minivans, are a bit misleading because they're compared to an artificially high median caused by that recall earlier in the summer.
Good point. Context is key there. The Jeep discount, though, seems like a genuine standout.
Agreed.
We also found that, surprisingly, booking last minute has actually been cheaper recently for many weeks.
Yes, but that trend seems to be fading and likely to reverse as we head into the busier fall season later in October.
Yeah.
So be cautious with that strategy now.
Got it. And the whole airport versus off-airport thing is flipped on its head right now.
Completely. Airport is often cheaper for popular categories like SUVs and Jeeps, and availability off-airport can be limited or non-existent for some types. Always check both, likely due to post-wildfire business conditions.
And finally, Maui remains one of the most affordable Hawaiian islands for renting a car, week after week.
Consistently, yes. And that affordability is, sadly, a reflection of the island's ongoing, slower recovery journey post-Lahaina.
It all ties together. So, stepping back from all the numbers,
Okay.
what's the bigger picture here? A final thought for our listeners.
Well, what really stands out is how something like the rental car market in a specific place like Maui becomes this fascinating microcosm. It shows this complex dance between purely seasonal demand, right, summer versus fall, but also major historical events like the wildfires, which had these long, profound effects, and even seemingly smaller things like a specific vehicle recall can send ripples through the pricing.
Yeah, it's not just supply and demand in a vacuum.
Not at all. And understanding these hidden layers, these connections, it doesn't just make you a smarter traveler, maybe saving a few bucks. It also makes you a more informed observer, seeing how local economies breathe, how they respond to shocks, both natural and market-driven.
That's a great way to put it.
So maybe the final thought is this. Consider how these price fluctuations, which seem simple on the surface, actually tell a much deeper story. A story about a place, its challenges, its resilience, and its people. And how your choices as a visitor inevitably become part of that ongoing story.